like to welcome you to a very special episode of Better Life Conversations. I love this program. It allows me just the absolute privilege of meeting such a wide variety of people, getting to meet different personalities, getting to highlight journeys that people are on as they are leaning into Jesus, as they make decisions in their life. Today's episode is that kind of episode, but it's a little bit different because my guest today is somebody that I actually know very well. It's somebody that I work with. Her name is Jeanette Stark, and I just want to welcome you to the program.
Thank you, Charlie.
This is actually a program you've hosted yourself.
Yeah.
And I have my little cheat sheet here, but this is just going to be a conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to talking with you about some changes that are happening in your life. But let's rewind a little bit and talk briefly about how we met. I remember we moved from Spokane back in 2018, and I met you at church, but then we got to know each other better a few years later. So share your perspective on that.
Well, we did meet at church at Gateway. Great place to worship. If you're in the Grants Pass area, I would personally invite you to check out Gateway. But yes, I ended up at Better Life in February of 2021. Maybe let's just start there.
Okay.
I had just lost my husband the month prior. I had ended a 28-year career in radio.
Yes.
And God opened a door here that, I walked through, really not anticipating or knowing what would happen.
Right.
And it has been an amazing journey. God is so good.
God is so good, and change happens, and change is not easy, at least not for me. I remember getting to know you and just sensing that maybe sometime in the future there would be an opportunity to work with you. I just appreciated your presence, your music, and so I had that conversation with you that, sometime I'd like to talk with you about possibly working together here at Better Life. And it has really been a privilege.
In fact, I believe that was early 2020. Wendell was still alive. I was in radio. And when I received your invitation to talk to you, when I was ready to have a conversation, I think was the wording. When you're ready to have a conversation, let's talk. And I just stored that away and, fast forward to the next year, and I was ready for that conversation. Walked in having very little experience. Kip said it's just like radio with makeup and cameras. And not quite.
Not quite.
Not quite. But it has been incredible. I've learned to edit, learned some editing software, and I've been able to write. I have developed a real love and passion for writing. That I've not always been a writer, but in the last 3-4 years, I've really leaned into the goodness of God. And the more I think about it, then I have to start writing it. And then pretty soon I start a blog, and hopefully that blesses people. But, from hosting Women in the Word, scheduling volunteer camera operators, scheduling guests, I've just really had such a wonderful experience here, and we'll continue to have wonderful experiences, but it will be a little different.
Yeah, so some change coming, and like I said, and we said, change is hard.
Yeah.
But it's different. It's different when God is in that mix, when God is in that conversation, and it's been fun to grow with you. You've produced the programs that I've hosted, and then we started the new Better Life Today program where we co-host, and it's just been it's a joy. It's not always easy. God is with us through whatever the challenges are.
Amen.
What have you learned over the course of the last few years?
Oh, first of all, the journey that I've been on and the lessons I have learned just in the last 3 years are immeasurable. I've learned that I can do life alone and be and I don't mean totally alone, but without a spouse, without other people in the home helping me. You know, I've learned, and in fact, I was just talking to Christy about this. I can dig a hole. All right, I can dig a hole. I can load a wheelbarrow with gravel, and I can shovel that gravel somewhere, and I can haul wood, and I can do things that maybe I leaned really heavily on other people to do. So in my personal life, I've learned to embrace grocery shopping. And that might sound silly, but Wendell was the shopper. I remember once during our marriage thinking I'd not set foot in a grocery store in over a year. Yeah. But I've learned to embrace that. I've found strengths in myself in my personal life. I've learned to be healthier and be kinder to me. And then here at Better Life, I've thought, at my age, what could, learning new skills, is that even possible? Yes, it is possible. And so I've learned to be, I think, more comfortable in front of the camera. I'm very comfortable behind it. I love to edit. I love to make, and I love to edit in radio too, to take audio or video and just create something that is very pleasant to watch or listen to. It's enjoyable to do that. Right. I've learned, just more patience, I think, in dealing with people and places and so many personalities. Radio is kind of a one-on-one. You're kind of alone in the studio 5 hours a day, and certainly front desk work. But yeah, it's been a different journey. It's been a wonderful, wonderful journey.
I translated some of what you said, and basically, Charlie, I find you to be very character building, which is, there's probably an element of truth to that as well.
Charlie, you have reminded me of a little brother that I never had. I'm one of 3 girls, and I always wanted a brother, but the way you tease and the relationship that we have built, it's been precious. You are a special friend. And will always be. Yes. Always be. You and your wife, Tanya, are just really special people. You've spent time in my home. I've spent time in your home. It'll be a little less easy for you to visit me in my home soon. But yeah, it's been precious.
So as you reflect on this, so much change in such a short time. Yeah. What has God meant to you through all this? I just picture, I've seen you really leaning into God in a very special way, and I think that's always been part of you, but has it become more pronounced? Yeah,
very much so. In fact, I'll give you an example. Just this past, of course, it's been almost a year ago, but last Christmas, church in Merlin was having a Christmas Eve program. And I'd asked this couple of friends, and they couldn't come, and I asked another couple, and they couldn't make it. Long story short, I didn't want to go by myself. Right. And I say to coworker Dan, this is my issue, I'd love to go. And he said, take Jesus. He said, you just take him on your arm, and you take Jesus, and you go. And he prayed with me. And that night, I put on my best dress, put on a little makeup. I walked out to an empty living room, and I asked Jesus if he was ready to go, and I wrapped my arm around his, and I drove to the church. And as I got out of the parking lot, I took his arm, and I said, Jesus, let's, so I guess what I'm trying to say is that Jesus, God the Father, even the Holy Spirit have become so much more real in my life. I've had a lot of noisy things and busyness, and all that really has gone away in some regards. You used to have a big family and a lot of kids and a lot of busyness. That's all done. Yeah. And with Wendell gone, it has allowed me to really dive deeper into my relationship. And all I find as I dive deeper and deeper is just more love, more joy, more trust, more faith, more happiness. It's been an amazing past few years. Right. Yeah.
Well, so you talked about taking a drive with Jesus to this event. Yeah. That kind of foreshadows where you're going next. So we've kind of been tiptoeing around it a little bit, but you're right on the cusp of a really big move, a big life change. Tell us about that and what led you to this point.
Okay. Well, as we record today, 2 weeks from today, I fly out of state and to my new home in Alaska. And I know to a lot of people, especially friends, this looks really sudden, and maybe in some ways it is, but what led me to that decision? 25 years ago, I started thinking about Southeast Alaska. Why would I think about it? I grew up there.
Yeah.
When I was a little girl, and many people have heard my story, but I lived on a floating logging camp, Gildersleeve's floating logging camp. All the men in the logging industry in one fashion or another, all the women stay-at-home moms, all the kids taught in one school room, you know, from kindergarten to 12th grade. Just an amazing life. And Alaska itself, even to this day, has just a slower pace. But anyway, 25 years ago, I just started thinking, man, I'd like to move back someday. And in 2004, I said to my late husband, I said, you know, our baby boy graduates in 2 years. What if, when he graduates, and I sell it big, we move to Southeast Alaska. We open a little bed and breakfast, maybe a little fishing charter business, and he wanted nothing to do with that.
Right.
That was not his dream. I mean, this guy's from Southern California,
right.
you know. The thought of, yeah, that wasn't his dream. And that was fine. I just put it away.
Right.
And we went on with life. And then Wendell passed away, and about 2 years after he passed away, I started thinking about it again. And thinking about it often. And then I call them God nods. And maybe it's just because you start thinking about something, you see it everywhere. I would see programs on Alaska. I would see license plates from Alaska. I would see the word Alaska. And that was all fine and good. Summer 2024, I'm at a family reunion over on the coast. And one of my most favorite people in all the world, my grandson Warren, who just turned 24 last month, we're sitting around the campfire, and he said, Grandma, are you always going to live, you know, where you are? And I share my dream with him that I've wanted to go back to Alaska. And he looked at me like I'd lost my mind as he said, what's stopping you? And Charlie, I got to tell you, that stopped me in my tracks mentally. And I just stopped, and so I started praying about it. And I spent that whole weekend praying about it because he lit a flame in me. Well, the flame was lit. The pilot light was there.
Right.
But he turned up the flame. And so I spent that whole weekend praying. And I got more excited about it and more excited. Went home that week and prayed and prayed. And the more I prayed, the more excited I got. To the point where I said, Lord, if this is not your will, I need you to take this excitement from me. Because I'm going to do this. You know, if your will is that I do this is what I'm going to try to do. James tells us, do not say, I'm going to go to this city and make money, and I'm going to do this and spend a year there. But instead, say, if it is the will of the Lord, then I will go. And so I do say, Lord, let your will be done. And I just get busy. I start looking for a place. I put my house up for sale. And as of today, I'm very close to escrow closing. I've found a home. And my animals and I are leaving for a new chapter.
Yeah. Well, and Jeanette, change is hard. And one of the things I've been reminded of in this journey, that because we're along with it as well.
Right.
You know, you are such a key part of everything we do here at Better Life. It's been wonderful. Partnering with you on programs and just the different perspectives and everything else. And when you shared this with me, I had some selfishness perhaps. Change is hard, you know, and you know, we have a vision of how things are going to work, and you know, we are just easing into this new program and having a great time.
I know.
And so it kind of took me by surprise, but it was a reminder to me as well that we follow God, we follow Jesus, we make the choices we make. You talk to us a lot about it. We've prayed together, and so it's been a journey that's really involved our whole team here, and it's a little painful. Yeah. They actually, don't they say that parting can be such sweet sorrow, but at the same time, it's an opportunity for me and for us to be reminded that we serve God. Yeah, amen. And God is the one that is with us throughout. So it's a joy from that perspective to see somebody taking that step to do what they feel that God is calling them to do.
A little bit more to that story is over a decade ago, I think maybe 15 years ago, I felt being led into videography. This passion just came, like, I want to video God's nature. I want to get in nature. So took out a big loan, bought all top of the line, state of the art camera equipment, editing program, had a computer built. It failed miserably. The whole plan failed miserably. But today, I look back over the last 25 years, I see this desire that I believe God put in my heart 25 years ago. I see twice during that time, one time I didn't talk about it, but twice I wanted to go, and twice I prayed about it. I want to go, Lord. You know, one was my husband saying no, and there was another no in there. This is the third time in 25 years that I've asked, Lord, can I go?
Right.
And this time it was a different answer.
Right.
So here we are today, 25 years later, and 15 years later, my desire to live in Southeast Alaska and my desire to be a videographer or to video nature, to do inspiring things, are coming together in this dream that really at the time I could not imagine.
Right.
I'm excited because this is not goodbye.
Yes.
This is not goodbye, not for you, not for us. We'll continue to have relationship and continue to do some really amazing things, but from Southeast Alaska.
Right.
I mean, what an exciting time to live, Charlie.
It really is. You know, God, it seems like God really likes to keep us on our toes.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard for me I feel like I'm playing catch up because I see things a certain way. But now that we're adjusting to it, we're starting to kind of vision what would this look like. And it is an amazing time because technology allows us to do things that, you know, just a few years ago wouldn't be possible. We don't know exactly what it'll look like.
Not exactly.
We know that there will be some growing pains and things like that, but growth is good. Change is good. And what I love is that there will be challenges. You know, things, you have a picture of how things are going to work out. There's going to be things that don't fit in what your expectations, et cetera.
No doubt, yeah.
But what's different is that we are walking on a journey that includes God.
That's right. And nothing takes him by surprise.
Nothing at all.
Yeah.
And so from that angle, as disappointed as I am, because I'm selfish and it's much easier. You know, it'll be different. It'll be different seeing you on a screen versus being right next to you and being just, it's just different, but different isn't bad. Change is what it is. But I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that God has injected a spirit into this place, a spirit into you that dictates that he will be involved every step of the way. And he will guide us through whatever the challenges are.
That's right. And I agree, challenges, certainly. But you know what, if I stayed here, guess what I'm going to have? Challenges.
Yes, yeah.
You know, life is full of challenges.
That's right.
But you've kind of already mentioned what the difference is in our challenges is we invite God in that. We know that he's there. We trust him. You know, it's an amazing way to live with full trust in a being that you know loves you and knows better than you know.
Right.
It's a great place to be.
Right. Yeah. So through this process, and probably right now, there's probably a little bit of, I don't know if unease is the right word, but I don't know what you would call it, where you just don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
And I know that you are one that likes to have everything in a certain order and everything else. You are not alone in that. There's lots of people that are in that place. You know, life is happening around us. Sometimes we feel swept along. Sometimes we feel stuck. What would you say to people that are looking at changes or anything else? How would you encourage them in that?
Well, you know, sometimes, in fact, often we might say, look at the bigger picture, right? But sometimes, and often for me, the bigger picture is too big, especially in relation to this.
Yes.
Because I know the desires of my heart. I have an idea of what's going to happen. I have plans. I have plane tickets and ferry tickets and, you know,
Right.
but there's still that unknown. A day at a time.
Yeah.
And don't worry about stuff that you can't fix today. If it's something you can address, then address it.
Sure.
And that's another thing. We loved to, you know, kind of put stuff off and put stuff off. And it's a little thing, you put it off, and pretty soon you have a pile behind you that needs your attention. So whether it's just everyday life or planning something big or really putting your trust in God, deal with the little things as they come and trust God with the big things.
Yeah.
My prayer was, Lord, I will go until the door is closed and I can't go. There have been, we'll talk about that on another program, and I'll certainly write about it. There have been a lot of times in the last few months where I've asked God, is this you closing the door?
Right.
But then I would find a way through the door.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, Lord, I believe that was not you closing the door. Whether it was a test or Satan trying to cause me to stumble, I don't know.
Right.
But all I can do is keep my faith, keep my prayer life strong, you know, keep my eyes in the Word and heaven pointed, and just keep going until I can't go anymore.
Yeah.
But I believe at this point that God has shown that, you know, that we're going.
That's right.
Yeah.
There are two lessons that I draw from this. One is that I love the image. You know, sometimes you're faced with a choice, and people, you know, you have your fleece out, and you're asking, Lord, do I go left or do I go right? And I love some statements I've heard from people, perhaps you in the past, where Jesus just says, yes, you choose, and I'm going to be with you as you go through that door. And that gives me a peace, because it's easy for me, my personality, to get stuck looking at these doors and just, you know, I just pro-con it to death.
Right.
And I don't choose. And I really respect and admire that you saw this and you would not be deterred from it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That means a lot to me, because I think we mentioned in the very beginning in the program, a lot of people don't understand this decision. The time of year, the going alone. What do you mean you don't know anybody there? You know, but God is leading. In fact, He's led me to a town that I did not plan on living in. He has taken me on a journey, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see what His plan is. A little bit of my plan, a lot of His plan.
Yes.
It's going to be great.
And that takes me to the other lesson, which is, if I am going to profess to believe in God, if I'm going to say I trust God to carry through, I need to honor that.
Right.
And I need to say, Lord, I know you're with Jeanette. I know what my desires are. My desires are that I don't have one more thing to have to worry about at work. I know what pieces are on the table, what we can work with, and everything else. But if I'm going to be true to what we preach every single day, which is, you know, love God, love other people, trust in God, then this is an opportunity for me to do that.
Absolutely.
So as hard as this is for me to do, you know, it's like you said, it's not goodbye.
That's right.
It's just change. And change is hard, but it grows us. And that's cool.
It's also another opportunity for God to bring perhaps someone else to better life, whether it's in a volunteer position, or, you know, part-time position, or who knows. But God knows.
God knows.
And with me walking, you know, stepping out of the door, not leaving, but stepping out of the building, perhaps God wants someone else to step in.
Yeah.
We don't know.
We just don't know.
I'm excited to talk about it after it happens.
It will be an adventure, and I'm looking forward to what's next.
Me too.
It was hard the other day. We recorded our last Better Life Today, where it was both, you know, us co-hosting.
Yeah.
There's these sad moments, but again, life has changed.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be so tied to the present that I can't look forward to whatever God has coming next for us.
Amen. Not to mention that we believe Jesus is coming soon. And so there's much bigger things to be preparing for, right?
Yes.
We have eternity to look forward to. We get to live together forever. This is just a little side trip.
God is so good. So Jeanette, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for what you've been here at Better Life. I want to thank you for what you will continue to be. I'm so glad that this is not goodbye. A lot of times when we have these conversations, we may never see that person again. So I'm grateful that we will continue to work together, and I'm excited to hear the stories, the adventures.
Yeah.
I remember doing a drive to Alaska, and the stories and the memories that come out of that, and that you will have much more to write about and to share about. It's really exciting.
Just the beauty of Alaska.
Yes.
I'm excited.
All right.
All right.
And folks, you have that same opportunity. You are not alone. I don't know what you're going through, what choices that you're up against. Maybe you're wondering, do I go left or do I go right? Do I need to get out of this situation? Do I need to try something new? Lots of different things can happen in our lives. Change is hard, but it's different when God is part of that decision with you. So remember that, hold on to that, and just lift him up as you continue to let him shine through you. We'll see you on the next episode of Better Life Conversations.